You can see that Milan outshot Juve by double, 16 shots to Juventus' 8, but in the end, it finishes 1-1 going into the second leg. 2020 has been great for Cristiano Ronaldo. In fact, you could extend that back to December the 1st. 14 games for the Portuguese attacker, 18 goals in total. Impressive stuff. Well, that latest goal, of course, being a penalty. Craig, is it a pen?
I think it's... the modern laws for penalties and the directives are very frustrating because the proximity of the Ronaldo and the player is very close. However, the arm is extended. Mm-hmm. Whether he's... Because in the motion of jumping, the arm is extended, unfortunately, and it blocks the shot heading, it looked like, towards the goal from Ronaldo, the volley. So, in that sense, you know, if you'd have said to me a few years ago, I would have went harsh. Mm-hmm. But I think nowadays, I would say that's a penalty.
Both boys in the studio then saying penalty. Ian Darke, what says you?
I don't think it is a penalty. No, I really don't. You're saying his arm's extended. He knew nothing about it. I mean, where's he supposed to put his arm in a challenge like that? The ball has travelled probably, what, a quarter of a yard. I don't think that would have been given in a month of Sundays pre-VAR. And is that a clear and obvious error with the original decision? I don't think so. I think Milan were robbed.
Gab?
Yeah, I'm with Ian on this one, and you know, at first I wasn't so sure, but I think the other element to consider is that when he jumps, he has his back to the play. He has no idea where the ball is going to go. There was a very similar incident in week 1 of the Serie A season where the penalty was given. Very similar circumstance. I think it was Brescia against Cagliari. And the interesting thing is, Roberto Rossetti, Nicola Rizzoli, who is the head of the Italian referees, when he had one of those meetings that they periodically have with all the coaches and media, and he explains what is and what is not a penalty, he cited that penalty incident and saying, oh, look, here's an incorrectly awarded penalty because the defender jumps and he's got his back to the ball. He's got no idea where it is. Yes, his hands are extended by his side as he comes back down, but you know, it is part of the natural motion of coming back down. So this should not have been given. And the obvious question is, this was nearly identical. Why was this given? And as Ian said, why did VAR deem it a serious enough error to overturn it?
Because it was outside the silhouette of his body, whether his back was turned or not. Because you see penalties given when if a player turns his back, if a player is facing a potential strike at goal, and turns his back, as they do. Sometimes they get a bit cowardly. When
PSG game.
And then you raise your arm.
Yeah. No, but...
Craig,
there's a key difference. There's a key difference here. Specifically said, the player is jumping in the air. It's different when the player's on the ground. If you refer back to the whole silhouette business and whatever, you know, they say usually. And they say usually to give the referees discretion. Here... Rizzoli came out and made it a point and said that should not have been a penalty because when you're jumping, you need your arms for balance on the way up and on the way back down. What constitutes a natural position is going to be different than if you're standing with both feet planted on the ground and you're simply, you know, turning your back on the ball and throwing out an arm. That, I think, is the key difference here.
Look, I can't speak for what Rizzoli says or his interpretation of it. I do feel, though, that Calabria, and in going with the way the law is written, as Craig rightly points out, when you talk about silhouette, I think the arm extends outside of that silhouette. At the same time, and you understand the distance, but I can't help, every time I see it, or the more I see it, as Calabria is coming down, I just feel that left arm goes out a little bit more than it naturally would. And I wonder if, again, it's in the almost defining of making your body a little bit bigger. He's not quite sure what's happening behind him. He's not quite sure what Ronaldo is doing. But in throwing that left arm out a little bit more, it's making his body bigger and taking a real chance.
I'm not sure he does it intentionally. Shaka thinks he might, but I'm not sure. But then whether intent's still written in the laws or not these days, it's a nonsense because most of the time there is no intent. It's usually an action, maybe a natural action. And it just goes further to highlight how this handball penalty kick situation scenario is still becoming one of the most difficult, greyest areas of the laws
because
of the
it's
game
difficult
at the
because like
moment.
people say, well, how do you fix it? Right, well, if it hits the arm, it's a penalty no matter what.
And nobody wants that.
In that situation.
But then you'll have people just kicking it against people's arms.
Yeah.
You know, so it is still refereed differently from country to country, and it is, for me, still one of the greyest areas of this sport.
Let's talk about the game overall. This late decision doesn't really take away from the fact that Juve weren't very good, Gab.
No, Juve weren't very good. Weren't very good at all. I don't want to go back to not talk about the decision, but I think the refereeing overall didn't help. There was a whole spate of contentious incidents, including a possible penalty to Juventus for Rebic on Quadrado, which could have obviously changed the game earlier. But you know, we're seeing what we've been seeing all season. This is not Maurizio Sarri's Juve. There's nothing of Sarri in there. Unfortunately, it's no longer Max Allegri's Juve. And they keep getting good results because they generally have better players and better individuals than the opposition. And Sarri came out afterwards and he said, no, I'm not worried. The only thing that people should be worrying about is their health. It's normal. You know, you can't just be in, you know, use the term in continual ascent. You can't be continually improving. Well, yeah, but you also can't be continually treading water, which is basically what this team has done. They've either gone backwards or they've stayed still since Allegri's left, and in terms of performances. And you know, now that the results aren't quite coming as convincingly as before, I think that, you know, this is something he needs to get under the hood and he needs to fix pretty quickly.
Yeah, how close is he to breaking point, Gab? Obviously, we saw rumours this week that Allegri could come back in, who's still under contract at Juventus after getting fired last summer.
Yeah, well, first of all, the fact that Allegri's still under contract doesn't actually mean that Allegri needs to come back. And I'm not sure Allegri would want to come back. He's made it clear he wants to take a sabbatical year. He's learned a foreign language. You know, I think he's waiting around for a job elsewhere. It has been reported that, you know, he would be the plan B if Sarri gets sacked, but there's no indication that Juve are going to sack Sarri right now. I think Juve were prepared for it to take time because it is a radical philosophical shakeup going from Allegri to Sarri. But I think what worries them is we're seeing nothing of Sarri ball. We're seeing nothing of the style of play that, you know, made Sarri a hot commodity 2 years ago when he was at Napoli and in his first few months at Chelsea. This is a team that has all the worst qualities of a Sarri team and all the worst qualities of an Allegri team. And it's that lack of forward progress, I think, which has to be concerning.
Is the criticism fair? 7 months in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
In short, yes, absolutely. You take over a team that defending 8 times Serie A winners, with the remit of making them more exciting, and you don't achieve that. They don't have the defensive organization that they did previously. It's a team struggling for identity. Thank goodness for Cristiano Ronaldo. Otherwise, who knows what kind of Juventus we'd be talking about?
well, in all fairness, I think now we're at this stage. You know, in all fairness to him, he finished the season strongly at Chelsea. Top 4 and Europa League win. And they played a little better towards the end of the season. And I think we see where we go, in my opinion, from now through to the summer. Is he going to be the manager that sees the train come off the track and them not winning the title? How deep can he go in the Champions League?
Well, they have to win it, don't they? That's the.
Well, they have to win one of them.
Well, no, they have to win the Champions League. The title doesn't really matter.
Oh,
Shaq
sorry,
said
I thought
8
you meant-
times.
Well, I'm sure the title matters. But
Title matters.
I mean, it's the reason they brought Ronaldo to the club was to win the Champions League.
Exactly.
But so he knows he's under pressure. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.